William Hitler despised his uncle Adolf and fled from Germany to fight for the US during World War II. William's sons also agreed to never have children in order to kill off Hitler's bloodline. During World War II, Michelangelo's statue of David was encased in bricks to prevent damage from bombs. On Christmas in 1914 during World War I, the British and Germans laid down their weapons. They crossed over no man's land and joined each other to celebrate the holiday. They exchanged food, played games, and even attended burials for each side. It was seen as a symbolic moment during the brutal war. In 2017, a billionaire from Brazil announced that he was gonna bury his Bentley for his afterlife. After receiving a lot of online hate for his wasteful decision, he revealed that it was simply a publicity stunt for organ donations. He said people bury things that are much more valuable than cars and nobody seems to care. Patty Mallet became pregnant at age 17 and was pressured by multiple people to abort the baby, but she refused. That baby was Justin Bieber. The Titanic fired 8 emergency flares before it sank. A ship in the area saw the flares and that the boat looked uneven in the water. But the captain didn't believe that the rockets were fired in distress, so he didn't take action. If he had, all of the Titanic's passengers could have been rescued, but instead help didn't arrive for more than 2 hours. This is a photo of Anne Frank's father Otto revisiting the attic where they hid from the Nazis. Sadly, he was the only surviving member of the family as his 2 daughters died just weeks before their camp was liberated. In 1783, a boy was born with 2 heads, but one of the heads was upside down. Surprisingly, the other head was somewhat functional, and the boy even claimed that he could hear the other brain talking to him. Tigers are some of the most vengeful animals on the planet and will take revenge on anyone who has wronged them. In 1997, a Russian poacher shot a tiger and left him for dead before stealing part of his meal. The tiger later found the poacher's cabin and waited 12 hours for him to arrive before killing and eating him. If you're ever feeling down in life, just remember you're not this guy. This Brazilian prisoner spent 5 years digging an escape tunnel only to realize he was too fat to fit out the other end. His only choice was to give up on his master plan and call for help. When China used to carry out executions with a bullet to the back of the head, the family of the condemned would be sent an invoice for the cost of the bullet. Christine Palilla was an outcast at school until 2 popular girls gave her a makeover. To say thank you, she shot both of them in the cooter before killing them. Within the walls of Alcatraz, Al Capone's mind completely melted to the point where he would throw his own feces at other inmates. He was paroled early simply because he was too much of a lost cause to be a threat. In the 1920s, not much was known about the effects of radium. So when a group of women were paid to use glow-in-the-dark radioactive paint, they were told that it was completely harmless. But after years of licking the tips of their paintbrushes while using this radium-based paint, the devastating effects eventually became obvious. Many of these women developed a condition known as radium jaw, which caused horrible tumors around the mouth, and some of their jaws would literally fall off. The ancient Romans would often substitute criminals into plays for punishment. So if a character died in the story, a real criminal would die on stage. The ancient Aztecs built swords out of obsidian, which is said to be 50 times sharper than surgical steel. These swords were apparently sharp enough to decapitate not only a human with one strike, but also a horse. Josephine Myrtle was born in 1868 with a rare genetic anomaly known as diphagus. Her body was completely normal down to the waist, but below it she had 2 pelvises and 4 legs. This is what toilets looked like in many medieval castles. There were a few cases of assassins climbing up these poop chutes and waiting for their targets to sit down before killing them. In 1977, the drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd survived the plane crash that killed half the band. He then walked to a nearby house for help only to be shot by the homeowner. He apparently saw a bloody long-haired man and fired a warning shot that hit the drummer in the shoulder. Once Pyle shouted that there was a crash, the farmer helped him and he went on to fully recover. In 1941, Soviet archaeologists wanted to open up the tomb of Timur, aka Tamerlane. He was a Turco-Mongol conqueror from the 14th century who is often regarded as one of the greatest military leaders of all time. However, locals urged the Soviets not to do so since it was believed that opening the tomb would curse the world. This was mainly due to the inscription on his tomb which read, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble." And inside his casket, there was another mysterious note that read, "Whoever disturbs my tomb will unleash an invader more terrible than I." But despite the warnings, Joseph Stalin ordered for Tamerlane's body to be exhumed. Just 3 days later, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa and invaded the Soviet Union. In 1856, a woman died just after giving birth to a Greek monk named Mihailo Tolotos. The very next day, the baby was taken to a monastery on top of Mount Athos. He then spent his entire 82-year life completely isolated from women. He's the only known man in history to have lived and died without ever seeing a woman. While this may look like a regular city upon first glance, it's actually the world's largest cemetery. Located in Iraq, the Valley of Peace contains over 5 million bodies. Joseph Matheny was a serial killer from Baltimore who was active from the 1970s till the 1990s. Following his arrest, Joseph not only confessed to killing numerous men and women, he also claimed that he used their meat in the burgers that he sold out of his food truck. Brian May is an astrophysicist who once collaborated with the team behind New Horizons, the first spacecraft to explore the planet Pluto. May is better known as the lead guitarist for the band Queen. If the Earth and all of its mass were a black hole, it would be the size of a ping pong ball. Only 3 people in the nation were qualified to hand-pack the parachutes for Apollo 15 in 1971. Their expertise was so vital that they were not allowed to ride in the same car together. A single auto accident could have crippled the entire space program. In 1859, a massive solar flare erupted on the sun. It blasted high-energy particles toward the Earth, creating brilliant auroras as far south as Hawaii. If a solar flare of that size erupted today, it would overload the entire power grid on Earth. In 2004, an Iranian girl was left blind and disfigured after a man threw acid in her face for declining his marriage proposal. In response to his crime, instead of paying money or serving jail time, the girl insisted that her attacker should have 20 drops of acid squeezed into his eyes. The Iranian courts ended up agreeing with the punishment. On average, about 12 humans are killed by sharks every year, but about 12,000 sharks are killed by humans every hour. In 1915, Essie Dunbar passed away after suffering from a seizure, and her sister was late for her funeral. When she arrived, the ministers had already lowered the coffin into the ground. But she demanded to see her sister one last time. Upon opening the coffin, the dead woman sat up and smiled. She lived on for another 47 years.